Yes, 4 p.m. So, and we have a forum. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah, do I think we have Sharon as well as Maria? Yeah.
Great. Hi, Maria. And then Sharon, are you there?
He's muted.
Mhm.
Can you,
It's not on.
and she has have herself muted.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Take the names.
we will acknowledge her presence.
Okay.
Let's start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Pima County Public Library acknowledges the sovereignty of Native nations and acknowledges the 22 federally recognized indigenous tribes of the state of Arizona and those who inhabit Pima County. We honor the vast and often unrecognized contributions and sacrifices of indigenous people and are conscious of the ongoing experience of inequality and political instability. In partnership with Native nations, PCPL advocates for full access to its educational, informational, and recreational resources. Is there anybody from the public for the call to the public? Great. We have 2 sets of minutes. Let's go chronologically. So November 7th minutes. Does anybody want to talk about them? Or maybe make a motion.
And I second.
Okay, so we're moving to accept the minutes, right? Just for clarity. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? All those abstaining? Okay. I don't know how the people online voted. Sorry? The online people, I don't know how they voted for the minutes.
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
Yes.
All right, November 15th minutes from the study session in the county administrator Lesher. Any discussion, any changes? Any motions? All accept? Great, wow, this is teamwork, you guys. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All those opposed? Abstentions? Great. Introductions. We have a new senior staff member.
Yes,
Do you want to start with the introduction?
sure. My name's Anthony Batchelder. This is my first week here at the library department. I come from the finance department, in the budget division. I oversaw the, property tax revenue analysis for the county as a whole. My background is in economics. I have a bachelor's and a master's in it from U of A, with a real focus on public sector economics. Before I was in the budget division doing revenue analysis for the county, I was in departmental analysis in the public works building across the street. I was the analyst for the library, so I have a real deep knowledge of what their programs are and what they do. I also oversaw HR in the elections department from a financial perspective. Yeah, that's just a little bit about myself. I'm originally from San Diego, California, and I live here. I have 3 kids.
Great. Okay. Maybe advisory board members can introduce themselves to Anthony. We'll start with you, Joe.
I'm John Halliday. I'm from District 1.
Let's see.
And I'm Mariana Diaz from District 2.
Right.
Marianne O'Neill, District 2. Ana Sanchez, District 5.
Rebecca Peralta from District 5.
Then we have Maria online.
Sorry. Maria Iannone, I'm also District 1.
Sharon Foltz is District.
District
3.
3.
Great. Okay. Summary of current events by library board members. Anybody have anything they want to talk about? Okay, great. Friends groups and library foundation reports. This is going great. Okay. Unfinished business, any updates about library planning that wasn't covered during our study session?
No, it just, we are planning to get the, survey out in January, so, but you'll know about it before it goes.
Great, and will we get to see it before it goes out?
Probably. I think so. I mean, with all the changes that you implement or ask for, we're implemented, so.
Okay,
Yes, I can share it with you before.
great, sounds good. Any other questions about library planning? You guys are incredible today. Okay, moving on, new business, Martha Cooper Branch Library renovation.
Our Fox Lupo with us here today, who's the manager.
Hi, for those who don't know me, I'm Tara Fox Lupo. I'm the manager of Martha Cooper Library, and I've been with the library since I was 19 years old. So, I want to give us a moment to get this, just get this up here, just because the pictures are what really speaks here.
Sorry, it's in the corner.
Right,
There we go. Changed it.
awesome.
There, yes.
Awesome. I'll feel that just so I can, oh yeah, I forgot, we're that fancy these days. I can just touch it. I love the world that is. Yes. Okay, so, I just want to show of hands, who went to the Martha Cooper Library before it closed and renovated? I'm just curious, just out of, I kind of know y'all might have. So just a few, right? So you may or may not know that the library originally opened in 2006. It was, I would say, a medium-sized, neighborhood branch library. And I took over in 2015. Within about 2 years of implementing a lot of programming that community really needed, we had essentially outpaced the space. We were having constant complaints about noise from just the good things, right? Overutilization is a good thing and a hard thing for anybody, especially when you're the manager and you're addressing all of those concerns. And so we looked at things and we kind of spoke with our administration, and we really pushed to say that this overutilization is an indicator of a need for more library here. And the Garden District Neighborhood Association is so proud to hear that, because they were originally told apparently there was no need for a library in this neighborhood. And they just love seeing that we had to expand within like a decade. So, and I'm really proud of that too. So we started those conversations around, I'd say 2017, 16, 17. And we thought we were going to close and expand right around 2020. And I'm guessing all of you know why that didn't happen that year. So we ended up closing in 2022, November of 2022, and reopening September 17th of this year. The library is now doubled in size. And because I mentioned the Garden District, I'm gonna get there, guys, with the touching of the screen. Sweat, it's even better. Whoa, like a giant phone. I'll never be able to carry that phone. So one of the little points of note is just that we made sure to label this as a part of the Garden District, because they do take such ownership over the library in such a positive way, and really honoring them with this facade is helpful, but also it sends the right message out into that community. So you'll notice that we are hopeful that one day this will really become a green wall, right? Right now, it's just a bunch of vines that are really struggling to thrive on metal. But, it's hot here. The metal's not the best, but I don't have a lot of pictures of the other side of the facade, but this will give you a sense of the expanded space. This is all expansion in this image, but also another just note on how the Garden District takes care of us. They've really tried to invest, and so they've put in little features to help with certain issues that are harder to keep up with, like dog poo. Yeah, you never thought you'd hear about dog poo at this presentation, but what are you gonna do? So, but really it's just to show that appreciation they have, but also the caretaking that is really important to them. All right, okay. And so now that I've shown you the newly expanded portion, I thought I'd show you something that's another really just important piece for me, kind of on an emotional level. That we built this amazing children's patio space that comes out of the children's area. There's a door right into it. so that safely, right, kids can safely exit and enter. They can burn off steam, they can get outside, they can do those things out there and come back into the library, and I don't have to worry that anyone's going to run into the road, which was one of the things we'd actually experienced issues with the number of kids using the library on any given day. We had safety concerns around, right, just monitoring where everybody was at any given time. And these beams are recovered from the original building. So that's another little just point of note for me. This patio is also really heavily utilized. I would say if there's any space already in our first 3 months that I always see people in, it's that space. So really good thing. We have an exterior book return and an interior book return. And really, I just wanted you to kind of see the exterior because hopefully you're all going to visit the interior too someday as well. And one of the other things that is really important to note is just the beautiful views. This library is really an architectural, just, I would say one of the newest architectural, like, talk about it moments in Tucson right now, right? I'm
surprised if it doesn't win something.
Yes, yes. And it's not the best, but you can see there's literally just this beautiful view of the Catalinas, which just creates that space that people want to be in and they want to relax in. And I just see people in these chairs all day, every day. And we also have a really nice, robust computer lab. You'll notice these beautiful films around the windows kind of add a little bit of whimsy. They break up the space, but most of the library is glass, which is really great for those safety pieces, right? We can kind of have a line of sight anywhere, but it also just makes it feel that much more open and airy and beautiful. And you can see a lot of folks just like to hang out and chat. It's really, really nice. It's really building community here. I guess my fingers are just not what it likes, sorry. And then this is our adult reading area. Again, that view, just the amount of space. And this is another really important piece for me is the park area. You'll notice this beautiful green space outside. Martha Cooper is located in an area where nobody can get to a park without crossing a major road. That is really problematic for the many children and families in the area. So while this isn't a true public park in the sense of having all the features, it's a green space and this community needs that and they will take ownership of it. And it just adds this element to the property that expands beyond just library. It's about the indoor, outdoor. It's about enjoying your space and being with your community. And it just gets so many compliments. So I would love to encourage you to come take a walk around the library property sometime. Another really cool indoor outdoor feature of the library is our patio areas. So this is the biggest. It comes right off of our large meeting space, which we call the multi-purpose room. It's also accessible from the library interior, and it's got a roof over it and a beautiful fan, because we live in Tucson, and it has a notably cooler, temperature even at the hottest parts of the day. And it's getting so much use. So you can be at the library, you can grab a book, you can go sit on this patio, you can read, and I just really love it. And this other beautiful feature that's important is this big glass wall is actually automated and it opens so that we can create indoor, outdoor events. So some of you may have known that we had our grand reopening event about 2 Saturdays back, maybe 3, time's a blur. And it was open and we had this beautiful event with well over 100 people in attendance. We had a band and it did everything we had planned for it to do. So we're really happy with it. And also we can't wait to think about other ways to use it. Oh, we're going to be hosting the Garden District plant swap in the spring and we're going to open it up because it's a big plant swap. Okay, speaking of plants, I didn't even plan that. What a transition. No. We have a new seed library unit. We have all of the same collection you'll see at any other location. And it's in one of the classic card catalog pieces of furniture. I know every time I see it, it feels a little nostalgic in a good way. And this is actually also one of our most, in terms of collections, this is one of our most heavily utilized. It's very visible when you walk in, right? That's one reason, but also people in this town love to garden and grow, and the seed library is a huge thing for them. It's a gift, right? Because that's not a cheap habit just to buy the basics, and then you add seeds and all the things. This gives community members who might otherwise not have access to all of that. One piece of the puzzle is taken off the table, and now they can just grow stuff at home. Such an important thing. All right, so I wanted to get you some good kind of views of the space. This is kind of standing at the back of the library looking forward. You'll see that we have those other exterior interior spaces that are roofed. These are patio areas, but they cannot be entered from the other side for safety. And then we have laptop bars for all those folks who need to hang out and work. And then over here, you'll see more pictures, but there's our teen space and then our adult, collections are the next two spots you would see. On this side is that little corner is the computer lab. So to give you perspective from what you've seen already. And then this is all county photographer. I'm not going to take credit for these pics, but I just thought this was a neat photo. It just really captures, right, the vibe of the day. And then this space. This is such an important piece, especially for me. If you weren't at the event, we had a young man who spoke at the event whose name is Josh. He's a library employee. But Josh was a neighborhood kid. Josh was raised in Martha Cooper Library. He was literally in the pictures going back to 2006. And Josh became a library employee as a teenager. And he became an EMT after that. And he works full time for TMC, but Josh still keeps one shift a day at our library because we're like family to him and he loves us. So he just keeps taking that extra day. I mean, he could have a day off, but he keeps working for us. And one of the things that Josh shared with me when I first took over as manager is that there was no real teen area at the Martha Cooper Library. There were 2 computers and a shelf full of books. And that didn't really create that welcome that we needed for young adults. Martha Cooper is proximate to Rincon, Catalina. We're actually not even that far from Tucson High if you think about bus systems. We're very close to Mary Meredith, if you know that school, and quite a few middle schools as well. So the teen and tween populations, they need space in this community. They need free, safe space. And we had the opportunity to be that. So I really emphasized in our renovation that we needed to expand that. And we did that by tenfold. They now have this big, beautiful area. There's another couch area in the corner, just so you know, this is bigger than it looks. And they have their own patio. And you'll see, this says, this area is reserved for teens. Thanks for respecting that. Because if you've ever had a teenager, I do, you know that if there's one adult in that space, they're not going to come near it. So we do monitor that, but it's for the sake of the teens and it's so that they can claim the space. We'll get a little more into how we're inviting them in a moment. This is our maker space. So in addition to the teen space, we created this little enclosed space so that we can do more dedicated programmatic work that is maybe on the louder or more concentrated side, right? So if we need to have a little study session, workshop, or if we want to have like a gaming session, then the whole library doesn't have to deal with it. So, and this space is actually where our 3D printing and et cetera will live. We've just still got some logistics working out. And then I just put this in because we have some great young adult librarians. We have both a full-time and a young adult librarian who's a part-time librarian. And one of the programs she started up is called GASP, Games, Arts and Snacks. And she did this fun collage program recently, and I just love the picture, right? So had to include it because this was created by real teens in your community. And this is Genesis. He is our young adult librarian. And this photo kind of shows you the other things that we're doing. Now that we're there, we're going out into the school community and we're talking to teens. Genesis goes on lunch, like school lunch hours. He goes to any fairs and stuff and, parent fairs, that kind of thing. And he really tries to engage these teenagers and get them into the library. And his impact has already been showing through. We have 2 extremely dedicated teen volunteers already in 3 months. That's like unheard of. Librarians, is that normal? Okay, thank you. Right. And one of them is actually teaching a 3D modeling class for other teens next week at our library. Sorry, you guys aren't invited. You're not teens. I guess if you come, you compete. What?
You can look from afar.
Yeah, you can look through the glass. That's right. But yeah, and Genesis is very savvy with all the 3D printing stuff. And then the patio, I just wanted to show you the patio in use. We've got some hula hoops out there. We've got some plastic stepping stones. And I'm not kidding, kids are just playing all day in that area. And this bench that goes around the inside is also very nice because it gives the moms a place and the dads a place to hang out and talk. So constantly, like when I left, I had to use that bathroom because our staff was in use and there were kids in the patio. It was great. Another view of kind of the exterior, and this is into the children's space, you'll see, just to give you some views, and that's our children's area. You'll notice some of the things, the features that we tried to ensure were implemented to avoid those future issues that create frustrations for the customers wanting a quieter space. We have acoustic paneling. This entire wall is acoustic. And then these baffles, if you notice the things in the ceiling, are there to keep the sound from moving into the library. And I'll tell you, it works. Yeah, this paneling is also in our big multi-purpose room. The whole room is lined with it. And I swear you come from the like vestibule and into it, and your sound gets deadened. It's kind of magical. And we just love this little greenhouse. I don't know if you noticed that we have this beautiful little greenhouse, kind of another testament to the garden district aspect, right? And lots of little pretend gardening toys. There's our picture book collection. And I just wanted to give you a picture that gave you kind of a vantage on the, the space. That door there leads into our story time room. We've actually we're modeling some new things around story time at Martha Cooper, because these story time rooms, while a little smaller than historical meeting rooms, creates opportunity to give a more intimate program, a program that's a little, smaller, but where you can focus more on the individual kids and families. So instead of doing one story time, we actually do 2 story times back to back, and we split them. So we have 2 librarians, a part-time and a full-time, children's and, right, both are children's, but one is full and one is part. And so one leads the story time while the other is doing a craft in the library, and then they swap it out and the group goes in and does the second story time. The story time only lasts a little over half an hour. So it isn't actually adding much in the way of programmatic time. It's just really creating the option to get that deeper time with the kids. And the families are loving it. And it's also because if we fill up, we don't want to break fire code and get in trouble. So you got to do that. And then the most important feature of library, this nice architectural desk, but the library staff. My team are such an amazing team, and they're so passionate about this work. And I thought this moment was one of the best ways to capture that. The county photographer must have really just gotten the right moment. You could see Andrea's laughing, Debbie's helping, Genesis is poised to help this person coming up. This is it. This captures everything that is so important and so magical about public libraries. We are right here seeing all of these connections being made and all of these people really appreciating each other and the space. So, and these are regular customers, and somehow we've got them to let us take their picture. No. Oh, and these flowers came from one of our customers because they love us. And again, so this is actually the library staff the day we reopened to the public. This is the majority of the folks that were there at this moment. And I just thought it captured a lot of the joy, right? These folks were so excited. That's one of the unique things right now about this library is we have new employees, we have transferred employees, we have some who've come back from the past, but everybody is there because they want to be. And it really shows through. All of these staff wanted to be at Martha Cooper, and you can see it, right? And just to give you some names to faces, this is our young adult part-time librarian, Sarah. We've got Noelia, who's one of our library pages. We've got Jenny, who's adult services. This is our security guard, John. He's that much a part of the family too. Mary is our children's librarian full-time. Georgia is part-time. Anthony's one of our library technical assistants. Genesis, you've seen. And Deidre is no longer with the county, but she was great while she was here, and we miss her. All right, so we also had fun for Halloween. I just thought this picture, I couldn't leave this picture out. Is that not the cutest picture ever on the planet of a library group? Yeah, so, sorry. I know, I wasn't there that day, so I only get to see the picture, but we have a lot of fun and we take care of each other, and we really, really are passionate about our work. And that's why I wanted to include these guys, because you can see it in their faces. They're just the people that we need to have, and we need to keep taking care of our library staff on every level in every way, because they really make the library what it is. And then one more little outreach moment, and then just a really beautiful picture of the new facade and the new park area. I'm just so proud, and I am so thankful that we got to have this expansion. It is so meaningful to you and everyone who helped push that forward with county administration and made that happen. I'm gonna get verklempt if I keep talking, Amber. You get it. You know what I mean. It means a lot to me. And it means so much because of all these people who will benefit from it for goodness knows how. So, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm so glad to see all of you. It's been a while since I presented to the board. Thank you.
Yeah, I went that first day when you reopened, yeah.
We talked a little bit.
We did, we talked
Yes.
at the front desk. And it was just gorgeous and it just felt so light and airy and you're right about the sound from the children's library. It doesn't carry on and it was just lovely. The whole area, we walked out just from the entrance to leaving, everything just felt so nice and comfortable. It was a really beautiful experience, so. And even on that first day, that children's room was bustling. It was like kids everywhere, so lovely.
Right.
Really lovely.
Kids and families really have always been our kind of bread and butter at Martha Cooper. It was, I may not have said this, I said this during my speech a couple weeks ago, but Martha Cooper herself was a neighborhood advocate. She was the former president of the neighborhood association, and she helped secure the initial funds for the land. And her dream was to have what she referred to as a children's library. And of course, now we're more than a children's library, but we try to honor that vision in terms of our programmatic focus, really centering on kids and teens. Yeah. Not that we don't have lots of great stuff for adults. It's just that that's where we put a lot of our emphasis, because that's who's coming in, you know, the most. Any other questions, folks?
I just wanted to share that Tara was a page for me when I was the head of Maine Children's Library. So I'm really proud of the work that she's done. And as you can see from the pictures of her staff, she is a great leader and creates a great atmosphere for her staff.
Thank you, Amber. Yeah, you were one of my first supervisors.
That was the first one.
Yeah, I think you were my second. But that's all. Thank you so much, everyone. I would really just love anybody who would love to come tour, visit anytime. I'm here. If I'm not, any of my staff will walk you around. And if you ever want to have the library advisory board meeting in our beautiful new room, let me know. All right. Thank you all.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Next item of new business is about our January 2nd meeting, which is still kind of in the holiday season and which has traditionally been canceled, but needs an official motion to get passed in order to do it again. Yeah, does anybody want to discuss their opinions on this?
It seems like the only business we have is the survey. It sounds like Amber's gonna send that out, so maybe we don't.
Okay. You have a motion related to
Would
that?
you like me to make welcome if we
Remember.
skip the January 2nd to that meeting?
Okay,
I'll make that motion, sure.
great. Very good. Thank you, Anna. Any discussion?
Thank you.
Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? Great. Reports?
I'm here.
Great.
I have been busy. My deadline for the annual report was the end of November. I submitted 25 articles to Carolina for design. She's been designing as I submit them, so we're getting real close to the final editing, proofing and printing. And as you all know, it's my baby. I'm very proud of it. I used to work at the food bank. They created a new position for me and it was marketing content strategist and storyteller. Still don't know what that means, but I would go into the pantry and I would speak to clients. And when I first started, it was very overwhelming because people are in vulnerable situations and you have to approach them a certain way and, get people to open up. And it really kind of changed my perspective on storytelling. And now I go to libraries and meet with people just, I'll hear, okay, this is a person who did X, Y, and Z and would like to talk to you. So I go and I talk and it's just the joy of my professional life. So I hope you all enjoy the annual report and Tara's story about the teens and the teen space. I went to the Motto Youth Center where librarians from Green Valley go and do a craft twice a month. And I went to the tween program. So I was chatting with some tweens and I have a tween. So I'm okay there. And I was chatting with a little guy named Luis, and he was telling me everything, and he said, and I love it here because I get to spend time with my cousin Francisco. And I said, okay, and then a teen, probably 16, walked up and sat down, that was Francisco. Luis said to me, I'm gonna go get some crayons, and I look over at the exact moment that his cousin says, "Don't." So yeah, that happened. I was like, I'm not quite that uncool. So we spoke for a few minutes and then I let him. I know when to gracefully exit, so, otherwise, that's all I have, just the annual report, it's on its way. Hey, questions?
None.
Tough questions on that one?
We'll wait for the report.
All right, good. I love it. Thank you, everyone.
Karen just called me. And I assume she isn't able to get on. She's been muted, and even though she speaks up, nobody hears her.
I'm unable to, if you click on it,
She has to unmute herself.
Is that the second person that's called in? Is that her?
there's two phone numbers. This one is Sharon. I'm unable to,
I wonder if she called from another number.
I can unmute other people.
She says, but they muted me.
That might be she might be the 410.
Well,
Sharon, maybe leave the meeting and come back, and then you'll get another option to,
That's what I had to do last
yeah.
time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not giving me
I
that
know,
option,
right?
and so I can mute people as they come in because we hear the extra background
Like
noise, but, so she looks like she's
It's
leaving.
it's a big room.
I think
There's lots of. So Sharon's concern was that with the survey coming out, she would actually like to reschedule the January meeting rather than cancel it at all. We did have the motion and it passed already. So I think we're just gonna move forward. And if people feel moved, there is a way to call a special meeting. And so it doesn't mean we don't have to meet in January, it just means we won't have a regularly scheduled meeting. Okay. Marisa.
Hi. So I don't have a ton of updates. I'm again still trying to settle into my new role. I think it's been about a month. Right now, we're really looking at bringing in some more staff into community engagement. So we just put out a call for transfers for 2 librarians to our department. One will focus on workforce and economic development, so helping Matthew with his work. And then we're also having someone come in for perpetuity. We really need some leadership help in that area as well. And so we have a good amount of interested staff that want to transfer in. What we're gonna do is do some informal interviews in the coming week or two, I think probably a week and a half. Next week's not working. So about a week and a half, we'll be doing some informal interviews and going from there to hopefully pick some staff that can come in and help with capacity. We're also just Alina, Rowe and I, who's the LSM for communication, have really been working on reconnecting with a lot of our community members and community organizations that we kind of had a lapse in communication with, just with Karen leaving and not having any higher leadership in that department. So reconnections and also making some new connections with some new community members to kind of see what we can do in the future as far as, new partnerships and new programming. The other thing that I've been working on is I'm part of a team that's helping implement the Workday training. So we're moving from ADP to Workday for the county for our timekeeping, time cards. And so I'm one of the 4 trainers, Kate, Demeester Lane, and also Ken Zambo. So we've been kind of trudging along doing that for the last couple of weeks. We'll finish that training up next week. So that's kind of where a lot of our focus is in supporting staff to get through that transition. It'll go live December 15th. So there's a lot of anxiety among staff, but we're really trying to be supportive, and there's a lot of support through our central HR with just job aids and resources. So I think it'll be a smoother transition than, previous ones, but so that's taking up a lot of our time too, just kind of doing that kind of work. So
And is it, very different than ADP?
It looks very different.
It is.
Yeah, and Anthony can even add to some of that too, but it's also, it's not just the time keeping part of the time part, it's also, our financial, finances, it's part of it is training, like staff training. We have another, software, and that's gonna be part of Workday. Also recruitment, the HR component, so it's a really large, large transition countywide, so we're trying to just support staff through that, so, yeah.
And are you trying to implement all the modules at once?
No, there's been phases, yeah, there's
So,
been
like,
phases.
we're holistically changing our whole enterprise resource planning system. So we're going from what was CGI, Advantage, PB, AEP to Workday, which is completely different, and it's a wholesale change on what we've done.
Mhm.
And it's just different, so everybody across the organization is learning these new systems, from timekeeping to finances to running our reports. And even our facilities piece, even though it's Maximo, there's components that have changed within that, even though it's the same app. We're going from 5 apps to 8. So there's a big learning curve, but there are a lot of resources. Even though there's a big learning curve, in the long run, it will serve us well.
Mhm.
And it's more with the times and where we're headed as a society, like there's more functionality that we can use that is gonna serve us well in the long run.
Mhm.
It's just that learning curve is almost vertical, right? So that's the hard part, but I mean, overall, it will. Any other questions? Yeah, I think that's,
Yeah, for the last payroll period of the tax year too, right? So like,
Right on all of those components, but we're getting the information.
Is that product, is that common in government?
Workday. I can't speak 100% to that. I don't know enough about, I wasn't as involved in the procurement process and asking those kind of questions. I know like there's places that like in Seattle has it, and LA, I think in Utah maybe. Those are the ones that I've seen in articles that I read, but that's, and some information that was shared, but that's all I kind of really know. But yeah, it's not foreign, I guess I should say. That's the better answer.
And will there be any apps that the staff can use on their phones or?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Workday,
Oh, that's good.
the logging in, HCM is the payroll piece is what it's called.
Yeah.
But it's through Workday, the umbrella,
Oh.
and you can't access it on your phone.
And ADP, we used to have an app as well that we could, it had some functionality. I'm not sure how much the new app has. I haven't looked at it yet, but it's kind of, I think the processes are the same. We have some staff that are using the time, like the time clock, some are, I don't know, logging in with a computer, and so that is still happening, but there's I think the transition is just, it's learning something completely new, a new platform, a new, and so that's where the anxiety is coming from.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm a trainer, I have anxiety, so. But we'll get through it, I think we always do, so.
I have a question about the new positions
Mhm.
that you're trying to open. Are those new FTEs?
Those are, so the reason that we're able to do that is because we are hiring librarian ones currently. And so, we made a choice to put 2 of those positions into, community engagement.
Okay,
Because we had, just the way we did placements, it worked out for we had enough for the branches and then also to be able to. So those are FTEs that we already had, or PCNs that we already had.
got it.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say on your section, I just wanted to comment on how great it was to see so many partnerships with different organizations like the Urban Libraries Council and then the different tribal agencies and.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just seeing how different members of our library system are going out and making those connections. I thought that was really great, especially with the technical services, going up to see how different libraries manage things. I thought that was a fantastic idea, and I also wanted to compliment the technical services on how they did the De La Cruz inventory.
Yeah.
I know
Or
that
just
was,
now, wasn't it?
that was fantastic because the time there, opening is so limited
Mhm.
to do the inventory. I know how time consuming those are and how everything's a shutdown. So having that at a different time just to take over to do the inventory, I thought was a really good choice, and I appreciate that the time of that particular branch was honored in that way, so.
Yeah, Kate and her team with CDO and tech services, they are really great about, helping a lot of our branches, manage their collections and kind of help refresh and do, we do weeding, they do weeding very regularly and they go and help staff, so they're really a great team, so we appreciate their work.
Any other questions for Melissa? Okay, Anthony, are you giving Jessica's report?
Yes, but am I up before him? Yeah, and no, I'm just making sure. I thought I had to jump. I was good.
Well, I'm also settling into my new role. I'm no longer the newest guy on the floor.
Let's take that.
Yeah, not 2 weeks. And so in my report this month, I touched a little on elections, since we had such a large role, as a library system in election space this year, so 18 of our locations participated in the election in some way, and we did have a special acknowledgement from Recorder Casares Kelly, who said that according to her tabulations, 45,000 votes were cast at libraries. So really particularly proud. It's elections and recorders runs that space. It means a huge increase in library usage, a lot of different questions. There's sometimes conflict and things like that. So it's always like a big season for us. So particularly very proud of our staff for getting to do that and being, it's a very important part of our democracy to participate in elections. And so I love that the library is associated with that so heavily. So, and I know, thank you to Melissa, because she did the real heavy work of all the coordinating over the last 6 months or so, of making sure, everybody's gotta have a key, they enter early. We are also a space for training, so in the months leading up to the elections department uses our space to train folks that are working the polls. There's, we have quite an interesting electorate system here, so the recorder's office does some things, the elections department does others, and they speak to each other, but it's very interesting. So that was what I touched on in my report. As far as other public services things, I've been working on Workday, as y'all were talking about, working on placements in public services. We've been doing a lot of placements there, which Amber can touch on, and Anthony. And we've been working on our implementing fully, as I talked about when we did our Library Futures presentation, daily scheduling implementation. So we now have a standardized document that we'll be rolling out. That'll really get started in January, but the branches have started using it so that we can have one singular place where we look at all the daily schedules and are able to see shortages more clearly, which is going to be great for us to be able to understand that.
Questions? Okay. All right.
Cool.
Nice job, Em.
Thank you.
Okay, now.
Now me. So as you all know, I'm replacing Jessica. Over the end of her time here, we did meet and discuss. There was definitely a big information dump and sharing with me about what was kind of the direction things were going and what they were trying to accomplish as a group here. Like I said, this is my 4th day on this job. I do have some good knowledge about what this organization does and what they're trying to accomplish by being their analyst. I worked a lot with Michelle Simon, who was here before, and Robin Sammons, who worked with her even before that. So I do have a lot of extensive knowledge on their book of business. Just to speak to a little bit of Jessica's report, being so fairly new. I know Charla's been working a lot with her team in making sure the facilities requests are getting processed. They processed 1,134 service requests since July 1st, so that's quite a bit. There's a lot that do come through on a daily basis. We see that pretty regularly over the last couple of days, especially the triage ones, things that pop up out of nowhere. So they're doing a great job with that. They're getting us about a 70% completion rate. The one thing to note is Bear Canyon is closed as of the 2nd. They're working on the foundation, so that's going to be closed for a little bit Mission Library is still closed. They're working on that, looking like a 16-month renovation on that. And then we're meeting tomorrow about Himmel and working on that project. So that's a little bit on the facility side. But to speak to the staffing side, there've been a lot of changes on how we processed a lot of our hiring and trying to refine that process so we really can attack the vacancies, because we know that that's a hot button issue across the whole county as an organization coming from finance. We're regularly involved in those conversations. And so we're hoping that by the end of December, we're gonna take our vacant head count down to just a little over about a quarter of that. That's the goal. There's a lot of people that have potential to be promoted, but Vanessa, Marcia and Andres and their team have been working to really accomplish eliminating that vacant head count. And so they're doing a really good job, and I'm just gonna try to step into where Jessica was and kind of keep shepherding that process forward. So we can, help the branches be fully staffed and provide the service that is expected of us.
A quarter of can you explain the quarter thing?
So the vacant head count's 26, so a
Okay.
quarter of that would be just over six.
And I think it was 26 last month also.
I'm just going off the report. As of November 19th, we had a vacant head count of 26.
Okay.
And I think we got the presentation on November 15th during the study session.
Can I ask you to, comment on, like, since you've been the analyst, what about the city's role in facilities?
So because we're with the county and in finance, we didn't really work so much with the city. We didn't have as much for it. We didn't go into that side. It was really the library as a whole. We weren't really involved a lot in those conversations at my level. But that's a tough thing to navigate when you have dual partnership on a building, right? You have to really kind of follow the IGAs, the intergovernmental agreements.
Right, and did you ever see that in other?
In other instances, no, yes, there are IGAs across, yes, there
Yeah.
are IGAs.
And I think they call it this one the MOU, but whatever it is. I mean,
IGAs and MOUs are not foreign.
right,
I know with buildings, they just get really complex. Because buildings are such a high ticket item. There can be arguments that kind of come out of, well, whose job and whose responsibility is it, right? Like, so a perfect example is Maine, right? Like if it's internal, it kind of falls to us. But if it's external, it kind of falls to the city. But then there's the parking garage, which is kind of the city.
Right.
So like there's a lot of gray, right? And a lot of the times people are looking for really black and white answers. And a lot of the times there just aren't.
right. I saw that, there seems to be a very, congenial handoff of Himmel, from city to county and,
I think that I don't disagree, and I think sometimes that can work. I think at times you're dealing a lot with property and land, right? So sometimes the value of one piece might be more valuable to that other entity. So there could be resistance to have that more cooperative experience, right? But at the end of the day, we're all in the same region and we're working for the same goal. So the cooperative solution is usually the best outcome.
One issue that came up recently was the exterior of this building. It seems like it's clear in the agreement that the city's responsible for maintaining the facade. Yet it seems like the city hasn't been keeping up to date with that.
I've heard of that. That's not a foreign topic. I don't really have much to speak on that at this time, just because I'm not ready to jump into that just yet.
Well, when you do jump in, though, it seems really clear it is the city's responsibility, so.
I would not disagree with you, and I know that it states that in the IGA.
And I think they would say that they are addressing it, and they are in a way that they check the piece of marble, and then when they're ready to come down, they paint them.
yeah, and, I know it takes a lot of negotiation. I just wonder, well, how long is the county willing to negotiate before they take a little bit stronger position?
Well, and I think that you also have the memo from Administrator Lesher talking about the options that can happen for Maine. And so I think the Board of Supervisors is actually going to have to make a decision on whether we, push forward in making things happen here, or if we do something different, so.
Yeah. So are there conversations happening between the county and the city?
There are, but I'm not privy to them.
Okay, just so, are there outstanding questions we have about the IGA, about this building? Cause I feel like we've just like retread ground we already know about, right? Like the city is in charge of the exterior, they say they're taking care of it, everybody else.
Well, I just wondered, like,
I just want
how long would it take for them to respond, and other facilities like El Pueblo? What is their deal, you know? When are they gonna take responsibility for that property?
You know,
I think some of it is just different, so the exterior of this may seem, I'm making this up, so I'll just say that for the record. It's not, may seem less important to them than, if there are toilets out, for instance, or if there's something they're supposed to be responsible at another brand, it may seem more important.
Really, some things they're better at fixing than others.
Yeah.
right, it's just what is their prioritization of what the issue is, to John's point, right, the IGA is clear about fixing the outside, right? But what level, it doesn't, that's not clear, they can slap paint on it and say, well, I've addressed it. Right, like, and that's not, I'm not saying that that's a good solution or the right solution, but
Yeah,
that's a thing that's outside, that's above.
Yeah.
Us, right, at that point. Like,
I'm just trying to see, like, are there open questions that we have that we would like to see addressed in a future meeting? Or are we,
Well, that's what I think, yeah, I would like to see addressed in some formal way, you know, and I guess. I'm not sure exactly how the bureaucracy works between the city and the county, but it seems like something official should be communicated between the library and the city. And because it's the city's official position that they're not going to fix the facade, they're just going to paint it. If that's the answer, well, that's the answer. They'll know for sure. But, on the other side, we were saying, it's going to cost 10 million. I mean, I'm one of the reasons since the recommendations made to abandon this building because the facade needed to be fixed. So if the city says they're not going to fix it, well, then we have the answer. They're not going to fix it.
It doesn't seem like that's a topic that we should have dealt with when John Lesher was here. Right? Because that's not something that you can answer, That's something that someone else is answering. It's not, if we have questions like that would have been the time to discuss.
Well, it did come up during that meeting, but
I guess what
seems
we
like
got
something
was all we were gonna get.
it seems like something official needs to happen.
but I mean, I don't think we should assume that nothing official has happened.
Has anything official happened?
Okay.
I know that there are discussions that happen, but I'm not in a part of them, so I don't know what the discussions are.
Sharon, I don't think you're on mute anymore. Because there's a lot of
Can you hear
background.
me?
Yes.
Can you, okay, great, because I'm not doing anything, so Jan said very specifically in our meeting that she was not aware if the county had formally asked the city to do repairs at the downtown library. Rather, they just respond when there's like an emergency thing when a panel falls off, but there's been no formal ask to say, this is the list of things that we think the city is responsible for. This is the list of things we are. There's been no formal conversations as far as she was aware. And so I would ask, that's what I would like the board to be kept up to date with, is if the administrator's office formally asks the city manager to do repairs, to just keep us updated on how those negotiations go.
So is that something that in the library, can you all ask? Administrator Lesh?
Administrator Lesher.
Well, Jan said, when we were talking to Jan, she said she could not say, she said, I do not know if the county has ever formally asked the city to do certain repairs on the library. So we don't know if they're going to say yes or no.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just asking, like, should that request come from the library to Lesher or from a supervisor to Lesher is my question. Like,
Oh,
I don't know.
I would rather do that.
Okay, Amber's gonna take care of it.
Okay. Okay, great, but thank you.
Anything further for Anthony?
Yep, I did. Yep, we did. We addressed it. We took care of the positions.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. I got you covered.
All right, great.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Amber.
So I don't have a lot to share because my staff shared so well and that's awesome, but I do want to, as most of you came on the board, you've got a Phil Baum for serving on the board, but Anna didn't get her gift yet. And so on behalf of Pima County Board of Supervisors, you get the new improved. Thank you.
That's really nice. Very nice.
Happy.
It is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure, please do.
Since it's on your front of the report.
Yep.
I was concerned about the amount of the closures at Southwest. And also at the Cruz, especially because of it's closed so much, the hours are so limited anyway. And they're not big closures, they're only for an hour. What can we do in the coming month to make sure that the closures don't happen, or if it's gonna be always like can the public always count that every day from 12 to 1, the library will always be closed just be overstaffing?
Yeah, and we've gone back and forth on that, in the, Aho, library, we set a specific time for when it's gonna be closed. If we have to close for lunches, so, I think with our last hiring is, does Frank De La Cruz have specific staff now?
Frank De La Cruz does have two specific staff, and then from they're open 2 days a week. The staff member has another location that they spend 3 days a week at. And so one of the librarian choose from Maine will now be there 2 days a week in the library, and one there 2 days a week, and then Valencia will provide lunch cover. So what happens is if Valencia is experiencing a shortage, then it's difficult for us to get some help.
And then how about Southwest? That's something that we're working on, or?
We are working actually right now to explore transfer opportunities that they have better lunch coverage. I
So,
had a conversation with Paulina actually just before this meeting.
now that positions are filling, we're hoping this will be less of an issue.
And I can't think of how many times Southwest has closed for lunch, but they don't close regularly for lunch.
That's
quite a few.
16th, 17th, 18th of October, and then the first is 14th and 15th of November.
Okay, got it.
So like for lunch, people are staggering lunches and there needs to be like a minimum number of staff to like keep the branch open.
It's at least 2 people, just for sympathy.
So if you only have 2 people working that day.
So like what happens is if one of those, I don't know, in any given circumstance, usually what necessitates a lunch closure is that one of the staff who's been slated to work all day has called out. And so then the supporting library has to send another person and then also send the lunch coverage. So that's where it gets kind of difficult because we're having to fill, which happens sometimes. If someone has a regularly scheduled time off request, then we would make provisions to do that, but these are oftentimes emergency situations or unexpected call-outs.
Got it.
So like El Pueblo has 2 librarians, and then do they also have support staff, pages?
At this time,
Library,
no.
so it's just the 2.
They just have the 2.
No pages?
No pages. But they're supported by a Valencia staff.
We do have, a page task force, so, we had originally overspent our budget for intermittent staff, so we were not hiring more pages. But we have some branches who have a lot of pages and some who have none. So right now we have an intermittent staffing task force. that's trying to determine exactly the number of hours that each library needs for pages, and then we'll probably have to move pages from one location to the other.
And in terms of your intermittent librarians, has that number gone down quite a bit?
Yeah, it's pretty low. And so that will be, as soon as we get the page situations settled, then maybe looking at substitute librarians and library program instructors as well.
But you're gonna be opening those up to.
It almost seems like you have to have a bullpen, you know, on a daily basis.
Right. Yeah, and in the past, we have tried having floating librarians. I'm sure you probably remember when we had them before, and every time we have had them in the past, eventually they just get sucked into vacancies. So hopefully we can remedy that in the coming time and create some floating positions that are just available to be scheduled every day.
Are they actually clearing the building to close the door?
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. So.
Are these issues that existed pre-pandemic, or is this more related to the staffing problems that we've had since the?
I mean, we have had to close for lunches in the past, not as frequent. So, but it got worse with the staffing issues and that. So, yeah, we're getting there though. I think we're making good progress.
Yeah, well, I think it's mostly with the real small,
Yeah.
the small libraries that have a small staff, that's when it's tricky. And even places that are so far out. You know?
Well, like El Rio Library last summer, they had a staff person who was out for a time, and so the decision was made to just close for lunch. That was the easiest thing for coverage at the time. So, but these little acute ones, we just have to scramble, and it's not theirs.
So as these staffing issues are addressed, and it sounds like they are, that's great. Will we be moving back towards adding hours at some of the branch libraries?
That's our goal. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Yeah, especially, I mentioned before, so I don't want to keep hitting it, but like Catalina, you know, that just had 40 hours a week. And, I do some volunteer work at the school up there, and, the kids can't get to the library because it's not open. When the parents come home at night from work, they can't take them to the library. On weekends, they can't take them to the library. So it's just a sad situation. There's lots of kids out there.
I'm new, but I know that there's a lot of work that's going on, that they're putting a lot of effort into the stacking. That is at the forefront of one of my group's teams is focusing on that. And I know us on the deputy directors group with our director and our other staff are trying to get creative with how do we solve these problems of accessibility, right? So, because the reality is, like I said earlier, it's not a black and white, not just hiring people is not gonna just fix everything. And so there's a lot of creative ideas on the team that they're coming up with to try to put forward. And so just, there's a good team that's working on this, putting a lot of effort into solving these problems. Thanks. Welcome.
Any other questions for Amber? Does anybody have anything they wanna say to get us adjourned?
I so moved to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, we're done. Thanks, everybody. Happy holidays.
Thank you all for your work.
What that's, I don't.